Hello everyone, in this video I will show you how to calculate betas using Excel, and I'm going to show you not one, not two, but 4 different methods. So I've got my spreadsheet ready here, so let's see what we've got. On the first column I have the dates in monthly intervals, so I'm going to use monthly returns to compute betas. It's quite conventional to use 5 years of monthly data, making 60 observations in total. So in this case, my sample period starts from 2018 June and ends in 2023 June. Okay, so 5-year period of monthly data. Depending on where you get your data, you might actually get first stock prices, and then which means that you have to then compute the returns, or from various sources you can also directly get the returns. But I'm going to assume that you first obtain stock prices, so we will compute the returns on the basis of that. So the stock I've picked to compute beta is Tesla. This is just a random pick. The method works for any stock or any risky asset in general, and we need a benchmark. And the benchmark I'm using is S&P 500. Again, here you can use different market indices depending on your purposes. Right, so a couple of things to pay attention here. If you are using prices, make sure that they are adjusted prices, not raw prices. The reason is that the raw prices don't take into account things like stock splits and dividend payments. So if you use those prices to compute betas, you would get wrong figures, right? So adjusted prices account for them, right? And so that's what we have here. Then the next step is to calculate monthly returns. So for example, for Tesla, to calculate the first month's return, I get this month's price divided by the previous month's price and subtract 1. So that gives me a monthly return of minus 13%. I do the same for S&P 500, and that gives me my first monthly return observation, 3.6%, and I repeat the process for the entire sample period. Okay. A few additional notes here. So like I said, a 5-year monthly data is the most common to estimate betas, but of course you can use different sample periods. For example, you can use 10 years data. Sometimes people use daily data to estimate betas, which are all fine. And for example, here I'm going to use 5-year data, but if I use 10 years data, the beta estimate I would get would be, of course, different. And in fact, even if I use 5 years data, as new observations arrive, the beta estimate will change over time. So Tesla's beta is actually time varying like any other stock. So it doesn't stay constant over time. Okay, so bear that in mind as well, please. Okay, now we've got everything we need. We've got our return observations. So let's begin with our first method, which is really the quickest one. So I'm going to use something called the slope function of Excel. Okay. And later I will explain what is meant by this function, but let's for the moment use it. So in general, I've got my stock as the y variable. Again, you can use any stock here that you're interested, doesn't matter, right? So this is my y variable, and the market index is my x variable. Here we are. So this gives me a beta of 2.03, which is pretty high. So let's actually also interpret what this means. Now, the market index, or the proxy for the market portfolio, has a beta of 1. So a beta of 2 is pretty high. So this means that if the market goes up by 1%, Tesla stock is expected to go up by 2%. Or if the market goes down by 1%, the Tesla stock is expected to go down by 2%. Okay, so it seems Tesla is quite sensitive to market movements. You can, sometimes the terminology used here is defensive stocks versus aggressive stocks. Typically, stocks with low betas are defensive stocks, so betas less than 1, let's say. You can get stocks with betas like 0.4, 0.5, and those with betas larger than 1 are usually considered to be more aggressive stocks because they are more sensitive to market movements. Okay, so this was my first method. The second method will rely on the definition of beta. Let's recall what that is. Beta is defined as the covariance between a stock's return or any other risk asset's return and market returns, scaled by the variance of market returns. Okay, so covariance between the stock's return and the market return divided by the variance of market returns. So let's see if I'm going to be able to get the same result here. So I'm going to use the covariance function. In the older version of the Excels, in the older versions of Excel, you just had one function, covar. But nowadays, this is a legacy function, and we use one of these two. It doesn't matter so much which one you use, to be honest. One is the population one is the sample one. If your sample is large enough, you will get very similar figures anyway. But it's more conservative to rely on the sample one. And if you use the sample one, make sure when you compute the variance, you again use the sample counterpart of it. Okay, so I picked the covariance function here. Again, I need to choose the returns on both variables. So this is the first column, the first array. And this is the second one. Now I should be able to guess whether this is going to be a positive or a negative number. Remember, beta is covariance divided by variance. Variance is always positive. So depending on the sign of covariance, beta will be positive or negative. And I can see from my method 1 is beta is positive. So then this covariance should be positive as well. And in general, betas are positive for a vast majority of assets, right? Because assets tend to move with the market. So you rarely get assets that have negative betas. Theoretically, it is possible, of course, but in practice, betas tend to be positive. So the covariance is a positive figure, but this doesn't mean much until we scale it by the variance. Again, you can see there are some choice of functions here, but the one you need to use now is var.s, the sample counterpart. So I'm going to compute the variance of market returns. So that's why I'm choosing this array over here. Okay. Now this is the moment of truth. This should give me exactly the same figure. And that is indeed the case. So again, I find that the beta of Tesla is 2.03. But we can use other methods as well. So the third method I'm going to use here is called the regression method. Okay, and this is typically what is taught in classes, in tutorials, in finance or investment courses. So essentially, the logic here is to regress Tesla returns on market returns, and the slope of that regression, the coefficient on the x variable, is the beta estimate. And that might now explain why we use the slope function here, because it serves the same purpose. Okay, so how am I going to run the regression? The first thing you need to do is to go to the data tab. By the way, I'm using a PC here. On a Mac, the menus look slightly different, but you know, the functionality is essentially the same. So go to the data tab and find data analysis. If you have never used that before in Excel, this won't be here. Then you have to go to the main menu and make sure that the analysis tool pack is added in, right? So you have to manually add the analysis tool pack in, and then this will appear here. It's the same for solver. We don't need that here, but just keep in mind maybe. Okay, data analysis, click that. And what you need to find here is regression. That's what we are interested in. You want to regress the figures are already here because I've already done it, but let's do it together. You want to regress Tesla returns. Okay. So that's my Y variable on market returns, right? That's my X variable. You don't need to play with any of these options. You just need to select an output range. I will actually change this. Let's put somewhere here. And let's see what we've got. Here we are. So we've got a nice detailed regression output. There are quite a few useful things here. For example, we've got the R-square figure, which gives the goodness of fit. So it seems market returns explain 24% of the variation in Tesla returns, but that's not my beta estimate. My beta estimate is essentially the coefficient on the S&P 500 returns, which is my X variable, and here it is. Does the figure looks familiar? I think it should, because it's exactly the same figure as before. So using 3 different methods, we get the same figure. And the final, I would also like to show you how you can get this using a scatter plot. Okay. So I'm gonna insert a scatter plot where we will have S&P 500 on the horizontal axis and Tesla on the vertical axis. And that will be a nice way to visualize the data as well. So let's select a scatter chart. Okay. Then select data, add series, X values. So these are going to be the market returns. And Y values. So these are going to be the Tesla returns. Okay, here we are. Voila. We've got Tesla returns on the Y-axis, S&P 500 returns on the X-axis. And you can see the positive relationship between the two, right? So when the market returns are positive, Tesla returns tend to be positive as well. And when the market returns are negative, Tesla returns tend to be negative as well. But we can do even better. We can add a trend line here, which is actually nothing but our regression line, right? And we can go even one step further, go to more trend line options, and tick this box where it says display equation on chart. Here we are. Again, do you see a familiar number? 2.032, which is our beta estimate. So the beta estimate here is essentially the slope of this line, right? The steeper the slope, the higher the beta. Okay, I think that's all I wanted to cover in this video. I hope you found it useful. By the way, you can obtain this spreadsheet on Gumroad, right? It's available just for $1. To see if it hopefully help you to save time. We've got other videos on our channel as well. And don't forget to please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Thank you very much.